Chapter 6. The System Alert. The silence lasted 7 seconds. I know because the pulse counted it for me. After he wakes vanished from every screen in the auditorium, the system performed what I would later learn was called a continuity repair, a protocol designed to smooth over glitches in public-facing environments so citizens could return to their regularly scheduled optimization as quickly as possible. The ambient lighting warmed by 2 degrees. The air blend shifted to lavender and chamomile. The ambient audio began playing a soft, low melody engineered to lower cortisol levels. The pulse was trying to make 400 people forget what they'd just seen. It almost worked. Students blinked, shifted in their seats. A few rubbed their eyes, the way you do when you wake from a dream you can't quite hold on to. The valuation arch powered down, its panels fading to neutral white. Principal Voss cleared her throat, and the sound seemed to release the room from a spell. "A minor display error," she said. Her voice was smooth, practiced, the voice of someone who had been trained or perhaps programmed to make irregularities sound boring. "The Pulse will investigate and issue a patch. Let's continue with the ceremony." She looked at me, still on stage, still standing between the dead panels of the arch. My wristband was dark. The broken circuit heart on my wrist was cooling, the burn fading to a dull ache that pulsed in time with the hum beneath the floor. "Silas," Principal Voss said, "you can return to your seat." I walked off the stage. The aisle felt longer going back, and this time, for the first time, people moved. Not toward me, away. Subtle shifts, a knee angling inward, a shoulder turning half an inch. A bag repositioned to take up more space on the seat beside them. The pulse's continuity. Repair was working on their conscious minds, smoothing the memory, reclassifying the disruption as a minor glitch. But their bodies remembered. Something animal in them had registered the black panels, the red number, the 2 words on every screen, and it had filed the information in the part of the brain that the pulse couldn't reach, the part that still knew how to be afraid. I sat down at the end of the back row. The ceremony resumed, the names continued, the scores appeared. Gold and amber and the occasional muted yellow. The room found its rhythm again, and by the time they reached the W's, the ambient system had fully recalibrated. Laughter returned. The synchronized applause sounded almost genuine. Nobody looked at me, but I could feel it. A new kind of invisibility, not the passive, accidental kind I'd lived with for 3 years, the kind where the system simply didn't register my existence. This was active, deliberate, the kind of not looking that takes effort, the kind where every person in the room knows exactly where you are and is choosing, with great precision, to pretend you're not there. I'd wanted to be seen. I'd spent 3 years pressing my hand against kiosks and value boards and hoping for the light to turn gold. Now I'd been seen, and the room had decided that what it saw was something to look away from. I couldn't decide which was worse. The ceremony ended at noon. Students filed out in their matched pairs, the pulse guiding them toward their next scheduled activities with gentle wristband prompts and directional lighting. The auditorium emptied in waves. Front rows first, then the middle tiers, then the back. I stayed, not because I chose to, because I couldn't move, not physically. My legs worked fine, but there was something pressing down on me, a weight that had nothing to do with gravity and everything to do with the look on Principal Voss's face when my score had appeared. Not shock, not confusion, recognition, like she'd been expecting a negative value. Not today, maybe, not from me specifically, but from someone eventually, like negative numbers were something the system had a contingency for. The auditorium was almost empty when Mr. Haddix appeared at the end of my row. "Silas," his voice was different. The gentle clipboard-holding social integration coordinator was gone. In his place was someone whose smile had been surgically removed. "Come with me, please." "Where?" "Principal Voss's office. Standard protocol for score anomalies." "Standard protocol," I repeated. "Has this happened before?" Mr. Haddix didn't answer. He turned and walked toward the exit, and I followed, because what else do you do when the system tells you to move? You move. You've been doing it your whole life. The only difference now was that the system could see me, and it didn't like what it found. Principal Voss's office was in the administrative core, a section of Ridgeline Prep that students never entered. The corridors here were different, narrower. The adaptive flooring was replaced by a hard, grey composite that didn't adjust to your step. The ambient lighting was clinical white. No scent blend, no background music. The Pulse's consumer-facing warmth had been stripped away, and what remained was the skeleton of the system, functional, efficient, and completely indifferent to your comfort. We passed through 2 security checkpoints, not the passive bioscanners that dotted the student corridors. These were active, vertical beams of blue-white light that swept across your body as you walked through. I felt each scan like a cold hand running down my spine. Both scanners flagged me, a sharp tone, a flash of red on the checkpoint display, and then, after Mr. Haddix pressed his thumb to an override pad, a reluctant green. The system was letting me through, but it wanted me to know it was unhappy about it. The office itself was large, sparse, a single desk of white composite, curved like a wave, 2 chairs, one wall made entirely of smart glass, currently opaque, and behind the desk, Principal Voss, sitting with her hands folded and her pulse insignia pulsing at a rate I hadn't seen before. Fast, urgent, like a distress signal. "Sit down, Silas." I sat. Mr. Haddix stood by the door, which closed behind him with a sound that was heavier than it should have been. A seal. I was in a sealed room. "I want to assure you," Principal Voss began, "that what happened in the auditorium was a display malfunction. The Pulse has already identified the corrupted data packet and is implementing corrective measures." "My score was -1, I said. "Your score was displayed as -1. There's a difference." "What's my actual score?" A pause. Very small. The kind of pause that exists between what someone knows and what they've been authorized to tell you. "Your actual score is under review," she said. "The master algorithm requires additional processing time to complete your assessment. This is rare, but not unprecedented." "Has it happened before?" The same pause. "Not at this school, but somewhere." Principal Voss unfolded her hands, refolded them. The pulse insignia on her collar was still pulsing too fast. "Silas, I understand this is confusing. The Pulse works tirelessly to ensure that every citizen is valued, seen, and supported. Occasionally, the data presents complexities. Your profile has always been atypical. We've known that. What happened today is simply a more visible manifestation of that atypicality." She was using a lot of words to say nothing. "What about the message?" I asked. "What message?" "He wakes." It appeared on every screen, every wristband. Another pause, this one longer. Principal Voss glanced at Mr. Haddix. Something passed between them. Not a look exactly. More like a frequency, a shared understanding that lived beneath the conversation, like the hum beneath the floor. "There was no message, Silas." I stared at her. 400 people saw it. 400 people experienced a temporary display artifact caused by the same data corruption that affected your score. The Pulse's continuity repair has already addressed the incident. If you check your wristband's event log, you'll find no record of any anomalous text. I didn't check. I already knew she was right. The Pulse would have scrubbed it. The same way it scrubbed the glitch lady's boot prints. The same way it scrubbed the crack in the sidewalk, which I had noticed on my walk this morning, was gone. Repaired. Smoothed over. As if it had never existed. "You're lying," I said. The words came out before I could stop them. They sat in the air between us like something breakable. In 3 years at Ridgeline Prep, I had never spoken to an adult with anything other than passive, zero-value compliance. But something had changed in the auditorium. Something had cracked, and it wasn't just the valuation arch. Principal Voss's expression didn't change, but her insignia spiked. one fast, hard pulse that lit up the whole collar. "Silas," she said quietly, "I'm going to recommend a classification review. This is a standard procedure for students whose profiles present algorithmic complexity. You'll be assigned a dedicated integration specialist who will work with you over the next few weeks to what? Fix me? Re-index me? To understand you. That's all any of us want." She pressed a contact on her desk. The smart glass wall behind her shifted from opaque to transparent, revealing a secondary room I hadn't known was there. Inside were 3 people I'd never seen. 2 wore the white administrative uniform of sector-level pulse operators, not school staff, but system staff. The 3rd wore grey, head-to-toe grey, with no insignia, no wristband, and a face so still it could have been rendered. They were watching me, through the glass, the way you watch something in a tank. "These are the specialists from the Central Index," Principal Voss said. "They'll be handling your review." The person in grey stepped forward, pressed a hand against the glass on their side. The glass hummed, and on the surface, directly beneath their palm, 3 words appeared in small, precise text, not the jagged font of the mystery messages, but the clean, authoritative typeface of official pulse communications. Subject: critical error. Below it, a string of data I couldn't fully read, coordinates, timestamps, classification codes, and then, at the bottom, in red, containment protocol. Active, containment, not review, not integration, containment. "I'd like to go back to class," I said. "Of course," Principal Voss said. She smiled. It was the most technically perfect smile I had ever seen. Every muscle in the correct position, every signal of warmth and reassurance hitting its mark with algorithmic precision. It didn't reach her eyes. Mr. Haddix walked me back through the administrative core. Neither of us spoke. At the security checkpoints, the scanners held on me longer this time, the blue-white light lingering on my chest, my hands, my wrist where the tiny broken circuit heart hid beneath my sleeve. When we reached the main corridor, Mr. Haddix stopped. "Silas?" I turned. He looked different. The bureaucratic mask had slipped, and underneath it was something I hadn't expected. Not suspicion, not the clinical concern of a social integration coordinator following protocol. Fear. "Go straight home after school today," he said. "Don't stop at the promenade. Don't stop at the value board. Go home, lock your door, and stay there until morning." "Why?" He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. And for a moment, I saw a battle happening behind his eyes, a war between what the system required him to say and what some deeper, older, more human part of him needed me to hear. "Because after today," he said, "the building is going to be different. At night," he swallowed. "The walls, Silas. After a containment flag, the building, the school, the promenade, the housing units, the pulse adjusts the infrastructure to track the flagged subject. The walls become responsive." "Responsive how?" Mr. Haddix looked at the floor, at the walls, at the smooth, white, perfectly opaque surfaces that lined every corridor of Ridgeline Preparatory. "Thin," he whispered. "They become thin." He walked away, fast, like he was trying to outrun his own words. I stood alone in the corridor. The ambient light was warm. The air smelled like grapefruit. The walls of Ridgeline Prep surrounded me, white, solid, reassuring. I pressed my palm against the nearest one. It was warm, too warm, and beneath the composite, beneath the circuits, beneath the paint, beneath the polished skin of the building, I felt something I had never felt before. A pulse, slow, rhythmic. The wall was breathing, and through it, like light through gauze, I could see shapes, faint, moving, shadows on the other side of reality, pressing close, watching, waiting. The walls of the auditorium had turned translucent during the ceremony. Everyone had blamed the light, the corruption, the glitch. But it wasn't a glitch. The luster was thinning, and something on the other side was looking back.